We're slow dancing in a burning room as we're recording this brand new episode of Turntables and Tea. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Cory.
And this week we will be discussing John Mayer's Continuum. There's not a second after Continuum, to be clear. It's just the one word. I'm just how I talk sometimes. But this is his third studio album. It's our second Ocean's Calling album. We're doing a artist each day, basically, for each day of the festival, 3-day festival. And we already did, for the first day, we did Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. And for the second day, the headliner's John Mayer. So we're doing a Continuum, which seems like is what a lot of people would consider to be his best album. And it's our second foray into John Mayer. We previously did the experimental John Mayer Trio live album, Try, which came out a year before this, but the same players from that album were involved in the making of this one. He was recording Continuum when Try was released. And as a result, a couple of those songs are on here in finalized studio form. In addition to just everything else he was writing, and the big change again here is, as we discussed in the Try episode, if you haven't listened to that, please do. It just he was moving on from that pop rock sound of the early stuff. We're moving on from Your Body is a Wonderland and Daughters to this more blues soul influenced sound, very guitar heavy. He wants to be like this Clapton Hendrix kind of guitar player, and that's really what the whole attitude of this album is just this is a new John Mayer. We've gotten a preview of it, but and maybe a bit unexpected for some fans, but also with the potential to get a lot of new fans.
Yeah, this definitely crossed over. Even before it came out, it was heralded as this crossover. It was something that people were going to be able to listen to on all sides. And it ended up doing that. You know, we got to see this evolution of Mayer. At this point, he was playing with Clapton at Crossroads. He was playing out there with Cats, and we talked about the trio players being here, but to have Steve Jordan producing this album is just a godsend. And also, they know each other so well at this point from being bandmates. It's the cherry on top. There's a lot of names throughout this album that are hidden in there, some that I learned on this run through. For me, I really think it showed his acceptance into the non-pop mainstream. Like you can see there's all types of artists working on this album, and he was out there doing live with the trio, and he really, for me, was finding himself in this era of John Mayer. I mean, he was just almost 30 at this point. Yeah, I think he was like 28, 29 when this came out. So he's hitting the stride. He's hitting his stride, and it was really cool to see when it happened, and it's super cool to look back and turn a critical ear to it. It's a neat one.
Yeah, it was a crossover, and that was reflected in its performance. So it was released in September of 2006, and it debuted and peaked at number 2 on the Billboard 200 with over 300,000 copies sold first week, and would have been number 1 except for the fact that at the same time Justin Timberlake's Future Sex Love Sounds was released. And so that did block it from the top spot. And well, yeah, I mean, that was its Future Sex Love Sounds. I mean,
Yeah.
he Justin Timberlake was also coming in hot then. So
yeah, Mayer knew that. Mayer, they knew what was going down. That's a heck of a time to release an album, but I mean, that's 2 of your top faces that have made it out of that era, a great year for music.
Yeah, no, some true classic albums that year. And this one, the critical reception was overall pretty positive too, and it's continued to be. It was included on the most recent Rolling Stone list of the 500 greatest albums. It made it number 486, so it got in there. So, and it was his only inclusion on there on the list, but he got in there. That's what mattered. Yeah, this album was also got 3 Grammy nominations that year, and it won 2 of them, including best pop vocal album. It did win that over Future Sex Love Sounds. But yeah, he was really doing well at this point and making a new name for himself. But also, I think mostly successfully holding on to the fan base he already had, I think, because we'll see when we discuss the songs, because I think he wanted to do a bit of everything. I think he wanted to appease his existing fans while doing something new, but also reach a new listener base.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, I guess we should get into this continuum of an album. We've got 12 songs to go through.
Here we go.
Yeah. Oh boy, we took a week off and we're getting back into the groove of it. So bear with us. Sorry, but bear with us. But we know we love you for tuning in anyway. But so the album begins with Waiting on the World to Change, which is kind of a protest anti-war song, but also kind of not, because the folks are waiting on the world to change, but they're not going to take action. But that's because, well, they haven't seen anybody else take action. It takes that attitude of, well, what's it going to do? Which is very relatable. I think it continues to be relatable. I think it was relatable in 2006, and it is now. And yeah, one of I'm not too familiar, but I'm thinking this is one of his first real somewhat political songs.
It was his first, actually.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was thinking. So, but despite that, this one it's not that maybe the subject matter is musically, it's really, I don't think, too far removed from what was expected of John Mayer at this point in time. Because this was the first single. It's one you probably do know. It was a big hit. It made it to 14 on the Hot 100 and stayed on the charts for 41 weeks. And yep, sounds about right. It was one of those songs that you heard a lot. Yeah, I think this song is a great single. I think it eases us into the new sound. Do I think it's the best here? Not even close. But I think that as a single, it's a really solid, smart choice for that. And on that level, I really respect the song.
Yeah, it is a very soft landing point for us as listeners coming in. I think if it was a conscious decision by John or the label or both, it was well done because of it. This song is a neat little transition from old Mayer to new Mayer. Even if new Mayer or this new sound that he has going on is just really sprinkled in here, it's here. Whether it be the just his new level of soloing or just that blues mentality hidden behind, it's here. You still get the very pop sounds of his early stuff, especially with those hard accented piano backgrounds, the key backgrounds, that real almost xylophone sounding accompaniment. It is a good song. I'm totally with you on the fact that is it the best song here? Not by a mile. In fact, back then it was cool, but looking back at it with a critical ear or hot tea take, this is the most rudimentary piece on the album. It's very, very easy on the ears and very, very easy on the composition. But still a neat way to start this album, and in an album whole, a really perfect way to start this album, this mature or this evolving into maturity album.
Yeah, and even though it was such a big hit at the time, I don't think it's the song that's now the currently 2023 the most beloved here. And interestingly, I did read this because I'll be seeing him pretty soon. Um, he actually said this song's really hard for him to sing now because his voice has changed over the years, and I doesn't look like he plays it regularly anymore.
I
I
can see both of those. I can see it sort of falling flat inside of a set, especially with, I mean, the way I've seen him, the amount of energy that he has in his set, this would probably in my opinion fall flat.
Yeah, I was looking at some of his set lists because I'm not getting a full show at the festival, I don't think, but I wanted to get an idea of it, and I'm not betting on hearing this one. Uh,
All
I
right.
don't know how I feel about it. I wouldn't mind. I mean, would I rather hear this than songs I don't know? Yes, but will I be how upset will I be? I'm not expecting it, so I'm not gonna cry about it. But a fun award fact now, this did win a Grammy for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance, and actually, John Mayer won that award 4 times out of the 5 times he was nominated, and before that award was discontinued in 2011, and he is tied for the most wins of that award, along with Sting and Stevie Wonder.
Wow.
So, great company to be in right there.
Heck yeah.
Even though we all know Sting was much better with the police than solo. That's not a hot tea take. I think we all can.
Did Sting win all those with the police? Do you know?
No, it solo, not police
Oh wow,
songs.
that was all him by himself. Okay.
Yeah.
Heard that.
Grammy darling, I guess Sting was for a while, but we all know what his best songs are, and it's not the solo songs.
Heard that.
In the
Hmm.
Sting world, come on, he did Every Breath You Take's a police song, Roxanne's a police song, but we're not here to talk about the police. We're here to talk about John Mayer. So now, we're going to continue at the album. Sorry for the tangent. With our second track, which is I Don't Trust Myself with Loving You. The second bar of that is in parentheses. This is a more personal and self-deprecating song following the more political waiting on the world to change. Oh boy, this song's kind of dangerous, I think, because it shows how deep and thoughtful Mayer is when it comes to thinking about his relationships, and he doesn't trust himself. But that's the problem is that's what attracts the ladies. It's like, oh, he's so thoughtful, even though he's saying he's like not good. That's how you attract them, I think, when you say that. The tortured soul
The
makes
tortured
him
soul.
it makes him more endearing. That's the problem. So like it's like yes, he's basically warning anybody who will date him that he's not a great partner, and most of his exes would say he's not a great partner. um, and he hasn't been nice to them. Let's be realistic, but this is how this is the deception here. I feel like is a song like this because we see just how darn thoughtful he is and um poetic. As for music, I think it has this has some of that soul to it, which I think is good. He has a decent voice for it. I'm not gonna say he's like the great soul singer like a Stevie Wonder, but he does have a good tone for that kind of music, and you can hear him singing from his soul, which is what you need for that. So yeah, I enjoy this one. I think it's a good second track, and again, does the easiness into this new sound.
Yeah. Perfect way to say it. Easing us into this new sound. If we were on a fader and the left side of the fader at 0 was old John Mayer and the 10 was new John Mayer, we are at about a 4 here. This definitely has some blues and R&B sensibilities, especially after the first solo is realized, and that's a new sound for the majority of listeners. If people are coming into this and they haven't heard trio and the last thing they heard was daughters, they're saying, okay, this is totally new. But this has a little bit of that older Mayer still in it. I think the horns in this composition are a great addition. They start to give that live sound that he had found in the years or the year and a half before this album, and really gives a wholesome sound, a whole band feeling on this one. But this still, going back to the old Mayer, this still sits in this very not so much syncopated, but very on point rhythm of the vocals, the track. It's nothing that's gonna make your ears perk up with originality as far as the composition goes. And for that, he hasn't even hit the 5 marker yet. But I really do. I enjoy this song. It has a really catchy backbone to it that just keeps you going no matter what. And I enjoy that because of that. This is a good number 2.
Yes, I completely agree with that. But we are going to go make more of a pivot into this new heavier sound with our next song, which is Belief. This one also takes on some war elements in its lyrics, but I think they're really beautiful lyrics. I mean, Belief is beautiful armor, but makes for the heaviest sword. Wow, great writing right there. Yeah, I just think this is a really real song, and he's really knowing how to relate to the listener on that intimate level. Like, you feel like it's just him singing to you, even if this is a somewhat heavy rock song. But the lyrics, timely for 2006, certainly, with the Iraq War raging on, but also timeless because war is a fact of life, whether we like it or not. There have been wars. There were wars before then. There have been wars since then. Um, and yeah, the musician here, this one does feature Ben Harper on the guitar. And funnily enough, guess who's going to be playing at Ocean's Calling the same day? Ben
And
Harper.
I thought about
So
that. It's gonna
very
happen. It's gonna.
curious to see if Mr. Harper will be making an appearance during Mr. Mayer's set. Very curious to
I,
see that. I think it would be a missed
uh,
opportunity to not do that, but
yeah, that's one of those concert ones that you're like, fingers crossed. The
yeah,
stars are aligned. Let's see if it happens.
yeah, and I hope they do it too because it's a cool song. It's another winner in my opinion here, and again, I'm liking how we're getting into this new heavier sound, and this is a great example of it.
Yeah, it really is. This, I'm even going to go past 5. This is at like a 6 here, maybe even a 7 as far as this new sound. This, I love this riff. The riff of the backbone riff of this composition, this piece is so beautiful. And here's where we get this. I'm going to say this is the first time he really blossoms into this new sound hardcore with the way that the rhythm of his vocals here aren't sitting directly on top of the track. He really has some powerful stuff to say inside of this. Hot tea take. This is more of a protest song than Waiting on the World to Change for me. He really says a lot of good stuff here. The line you pulled out with the belief being this armor, but the sword. Right after that, he says belief is like punching through wood, or you're never gonna hit what you want. He says some really cool stuff here that basically boils down to if you're fighting on belief, you're never going to win the war. You have to figure out what you're fighting about. And if it's belief, it's never going to be a favorable outcome for anyone. I really enjoy this one. Ben Harper on it makes it even sicker. That one I did know back in the day. This is my first real memory of this album. This is the first song that I was like, oh, there you go. There you go. And at the number 3, it really made me happy going back and listening to it just because it was there early on in this album. Really good track.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mentioned that Grammy Award that he won 4 times. This is the he was nominated for this song. This is the one time he lost it,
Oh,
actually. But admittedly he did lose to Justin Timberlake's "What Goes Around Comes Around," and
okay.
that's a tough vote right there. That's the problem with that one. That's one I can't even get mad at. I mean, it's like, yes, on one hand, Mayer and Harper, on another, Justin and Timbaland.
Yeah,
It's
that's
apples and
true.
oranges. That's the problem.
I heard that.
But yeah, I probably would have voted for Justin and Timbaland myself. Hard would have been a hard decision though, because this is a really strong track. But speaking of strong tracks, we've got another one coming up. It's one we already discussed before, Gravity. This was on the Try album. And it's not too different here, but that's a good thing. It didn't need to be changed so much because the song really, he had it down. And when he played it in that live setting, it sounded like a song he'd been doing forever already, even though it was a brand new song. So why make too many changes? But this version, I do have to give a couple more points because none other than Alicia Keys is on backing vocals. So I do have to give it more credit for that because what a beautiful voice to put on a song, any song. So yes, this is the definitive version of it, and yep, it was a single and it only reached 71 on the Hot 100, but that's not really a reflection of its stature. It's a really beloved song. This is one I feel like now this is a more beloved song than Waiting on the World to Change. I think in this era, not
Most
back
definitely.
then. Yeah,
No, it only made it to 78. Is
71.
that what you said? Jeez, a whiz, 71. That's surprising for as powerful of a song. And we said it on the last time we went through when we did trio. It's a timeless piece, man. It's one of those ones that it's a hit. It's a almost perfect song. Alicia Keys, I never knew that part about it. I never knew
But
that back in the day.
once you read it and then you hear it, you're like, oh, there's no mistaking who that is.
I know, and you know me, I love me some Alicia Keys
Yes,
and
you do.
John Mayer. So it was so crazy. I found that on the wiki and I was like, that's not right. Somebody needs to delete that. Like, where's the source? She's not even in the rest of the anything I could find for the artists as far as on the album. So I still was like, nah, this is some wiki stuff here, but it's so cool. You cannot mistake that it's her once you read it. A very, very welcome addition to Gravity, period. But it's such it's almost a perfect song. I don't know what other to say. He really he hits it out of the park here.
Yeah.
It is it and this is, I'll say, an 8 or a 9 on that new Mayer because we heard it, back on Trio, but or Try, but it's such a beautiful piece.
Yeah, and it
I'm
is,
smiling thinking about it.
yeah, and it's definitely a guitar song too. I think that's what really pushes it into that new mayor category.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, a truly sublime song. And something a bit more optimistic, and we're going to kind of keep that going with track number 5, which is the heart of life. It's basically saying the heart of life is good even if it's difficult. Life being that, but of course, pain and love are the things that change everything. This is one of the shortest songs here. It's only 3 minutes and 19 seconds. I'm glad this is not an easy. This is definitely my least favorite song on the album. I mean, we're hearing this these previous songs I just felt like had much more thoughtful lyrics to them and were really moving into new compositional territory for the artists here and it was just so exciting and I just think this song it's kind of cheesy and I just don't think it really fits the tone of everything else here. To me this is like one of those movie montage songs like for the emotional montage in a film
yeah,
this song would play. And it's perfect for that. I think that's where it should have been used. Smack dab in the middle of this album almost. No, I think it just sounds like an outtake from an earlier era. I mean, I'm not an expert, but this is a lot closer to Daughters than it is to Gravity.
yeah. It almost seems like half of a thought, even though it has a full thought inside of it. But compared to what we've heard so far, it almost, for me, with its shortness, feels like not a completely fleshed out composition here. I forgot this was on this album. In fact, when like I was going down, I was like, oh wait a minute, what? Oh, okay, yeah, that's right, I remember this. It's a cool statement in there. It's a positive statement. Um, I'll use the shortness of this, or the review of this track, to open up and say this is a cool look at what he was struggling with or working with inside of himself. He had said that he wanted to name this album Continuum way before he started going at it. And he had found himself, and I won't get too far ahead of myself, but he had found himself in that part of life where he was fascinated with where he fit into this fleeting time, this continuum. So the message in Heart of Life is a neat one, and I'll give it that, only on a silver lining playbook style here of that's where he was. At anything, this is like maybe he needed a breath on the album or something like that, but it doesn't add really much, and it sort of gets forgotten, for lack of better words, in this number 5 spot.
I think it could have been removed. It just doesn't fit in.
Most definitely.
That's the main issue. But and it especially sounds weird coming before the next song, which is Vultures, the other song that was included on the John Mayer Trio album. This is one of only two songs here with co-writers. Steve Jordan and Pino Palladino are credited as co-writers on this song, and yeah, it's a song about dealing with the haters. And hey, we all need a song like that. On the Try album, I think this song was a clear highlight out of the new original songs. Like I can see why that was one of the ones they decided, no, this needs to be properly recorded in a studio and put on an album, not just on this live album. That was totally a smart thing to do, not faulting it. The problem here is this song gets demolished by most of the songs that follow it. Is like it's not a bad song, but in comparison to even some of the ones that I heard before, I don't think it stacks up. And especially not after. It just I mean, here it's a bit of a filler. I hate to say it on whereas on Try it was a highlight.
Yeah, it's even a little bit slower. I do like the addition of the keys here on it, just for more of a rounded out sound. But I'll go back to when this album was released. I used to tell people, like, you want to hear that song, go listen to it on Try, because when this song is unbridled, it is a powerhouse. But I feel like being confined inside of this recording session state, it loses a little bit of itself. It definitely is. This is another silver lining playbook, benefit of the doubt. It is a slow breather before this album really opens up, in my opinion. And it does its job there. But as far as it being the best version of Vultures, it definitely isn't. I can understand that you want to get this song to the masses, but unfortunately, I always told people to go check it out on Try, because it just shines there. It's a great song. It's a great song. Don't get me wrong, but it shines more when it's allowed to, when this vulture is allowed to fly, so to speak.
Yup.
Yeah. That's pretty much it for me on that one. It's go check it out on Try if you have never heard it other than this album.
Yeah, because and also you're not kidding. We are opening up into some new emotionally damaged territory. Really starting with track number 7, which is "Stop This Train," which a song John Mayer said was written in solitary refinement, were his words. I like that. At the time he was at the time he was actually living in a hotel because he was in between homes when he wrote this song, and he was also bowled over in pain with double kidney stones.
Yeah.
So I have to give him credit. I've never had kidney stones, but they don't sound fun. I imagine I'd yell like Kramer did when he got them. where
Yeah, for real.
all of Madison Square Garden heard him scream. That would have been me. I definitely wouldn't have written a song, but John Mayer wrote a song because that's what you do when you're in pain. I guess you write songs if you're an artist, and good for him because yeah, just the reality of where he was in this place really comes through in the song. He's really reflecting about like just slowing down and stopping the train. And I mean, it's a beautiful song. I think this is pure soul John Mayer in his singing of it. He sings it with pure soul and he means every word. And I love it. And is it the biggest, most popular song here? No. But I really, really, really want to hear this live at Ocean's Calling. I think this is a beautiful song.
It is a beautiful song. This is one that unfortunately everybody doesn't know. And this is one I used to scream at people like, listen, stop and listen to this song. I wasn't at that age yet, and it hadn't really started to seep in like it is for John Mayer here. But this is a 28, 29-year-old man looking and for the first time feeling this milestone of 30 years coming. And inside of the homesickness for his own home, living in the hotel, and to be at home with his folks, the mortality of his parents are setting in, and it's really daunting to him. And he's laying it out on the line for us here. This is up there for me with like Father and Son or like Cats in the Cradle. I mean, this is a real look at some father and son uh, milestone heaviness, man. I love that at 2:55 we get a candid talk with his father, and his father says, I'm paraphrasing, but like, don't do this, don't stop the train. Like, I've tried my hand, and this is what happens. It's going to be okay. And it's such a powerful piece. I implore anyone, if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to the album yet, do not pass this one over. It's such a beautiful song, but this for me is very close to the height of John Mayer as a singer-songwriter and really letting us in. And again, we talked about this album opening up. For me, this cathartic release just blossoms into the next handful of songs as we go through. He really is letting us in clear all the way through the entirety or the rest of this album, in my opinion. And this is such a beautiful way to start that.
Yeah, most definitely. But even outside of the album, it's a beautiful song on its own too. It's
Most
that
definitely.
powerful. So, but you're not kidding about we're opening up. We're going even further, folks. And now it's time for our eighth song, which is "Slow Dancing in a Burning Room." Not a single, but one of John Mayer's most beloved and most streamed songs. So, and yeah, this is blues John Mayer. It's pure blues guitar that you're hearing here. That it's pure Clapton, and but it fits perfectly with what he's singing. He's singing the blues of this disintegrating relationship where he knows it's ending, but they're just keeping up appearances. Hence the title. They're slow dancing in a burning room. It's like we're putting on a show, but look around us. It's really falling apart. And what a beautiful metaphor to use for that. I think that's so great. Yeah, it's not a lot of times I've seen this called his very best song. I, it's not even my favorite on the album, but I can see why it's a really beloved song. Um, and really, I'm sure I'm going to hear this one at the festival because actually, it looks like on this solo tour he's been doing, this is the song he's been opening his shows with, which I think I just can't imagine this opening a concert, but I mean,
Ah, I tell you, when I seen him on Heartbreak Warfare, and I was like, I swear to God, if he opens this concert with, it's going to be the worst concert we've ever gone to. And sure as shit, he did, and it was not even. It was a great concert. So he can, if anyone can do it, he can do it. I can, I can't see this as an opener, but Johnny
Yeah.
could do that.
No, it's still a great song. I'll be happy to hear it. I'm just very curious to see how it'll go over as an opening track for a set. But yeah, still a great song, still beloved, a bit overrated possibly, but it's hard to yeah, I don't know, it's hard to completely follow the hype for me with everything, but I can definitely see why this song is so beloved and I enjoy it too.
For me, a little bit of that overhype comes from really how relatable this song is. Hopefully no one ever has to be inside of a relationship where you can see it going south and you're both trying to keep appearances, but I feel like a lot of people have been there and it's super relatable. Here we go, open up John Mayer again in a beautiful song. He's giving it to us all here. It wasn't my thought back then, but now I always think of the meme of the dog sitting in the room that's on fire with a coffee cup and just says everything's fine. It's the same play here, and he does it in this beautiful way, and caps it off saying we're slow dancing in a burning room. This is a good one. This is up there for me as far as Mayor goes, but I'm with you actually. This is not definitely not my favorite on the album, but this is not his top song for me. It is a good one though. And this,
Yes.
you said this wasn't a single?
No, it wasn't, which is really
It, I
shocking.
feel like, yeah, I feel like it was everywhere back then. Um, but
People
maybe
just
that's just because
loved that. It just was that song people really gravitated to, even though it wasn't a single. Which it's weird that that would happen in this era of the mid 2000s.
yeah, I mean, it was either YouTube was this year or the next year. Like we were still starting to really get into that sharing streaming mentality. So you're right.
Yeah,
That's why I said, wait a minute, it wasn't a single because it definitely got its fair share of radio play.
yeah. It's just in that in between era of streaming and album oriented rock.
Yeah.
We're in between that. So, but that makes it all the more impressive that this got on through and broke through. But speaking of album oriented or classic rock, if you will, we're going to really go down that road with our next song, which is Bold as Love, a Jimi Hendrix cover. We got a Hendrix cover on the Try album as well. That was Wait Until Tomorrow. But and he done Hendrix covers live because he wanted to show up, hey, I'm a guitarist. So of course I'm gonna play you some Hendrix. But this is the first time he recorded one in studio. And I mean, not an easy thing to do because Hendrix is often called the greatest guitarist of all time. And he was immortalized. He is immortalized. So you're going to get a lot of comparisons and a lot of people who probably think you shouldn't even bother covering a song such as Bold as Love, which is one of Hendrix's most beloved tracks. But if he wants to build his guitar reputation, which is a part of this album, I think this was a really smart move. And it's a well done cover. It rocks. And I think that it's good to have that full blast rock song on the album, especially after these previous two songs, especially, which really make you stop and think and contemplate. It's good to have a straight ahead hard rock track after that. And I think it's a good place for it. It does come in between these reflective songs, but if it were just one reflective song after another, I think things would have maybe gotten a bit too monotonous. And this breaks that up in a really nice way, but it fits in still. So I think this is well done.
Yeah, I'm right with you. Super well done. I'll talk about the musicality of the cover in a second, but really to choose this Jimmy song. If you're going to cover a Jimmy, in fact, I'm almost positive this is the first cover that he put on any album other than Try, like any of his solo albums. But to do Bold as Love is genius here for me because we're super open. You know, he's super opened up to us here, and he's given us everything. And immediately when you hear it, you're like, ah, oh, here we go with a Hendrix cover. But more when you look into Bold as Love and see it, you know, just as scared love or even more just starting love, love that's not sure. It fits so beautifully into what we have here. And it's genius on that level, in my opinion. This cover, though, I love this cover. Even we'll go if you go back to the Try episode that we did. I was talking about I had seen this live. I've seen him do this live twice, and it's just such a beautiful way to cover a song, the perfect way to cover a song where you put you into it, but you don't lose it in that process. And this is there. I mean, he really makes this song his own while super without just mimicking riffs, but paying super homage to Hendrix, or even more so the Hendrix experience. I mean, you got Jordan playing Mitch Mitchell here. Like there's so many beautiful things about this cover composition. It's amazing. More most specifically though, at 250, at the I won't even say the end, but at 250, he's raging on this solo, this Hendrix inspired solo, and then pop, it breaks down into this blues, just soft, almost a pause where maybe in a live setting you would expect the lead singer to talk over it or something like that, and really speaks to his blues mentality and adds another level of him onto it and this evolving Mayer that we're seeing. So kudos to him for doing this song. Kudos to him for putting it so perfectly into this thought process on the album. A really well done job here.
Yes, most definitely. And it leads us into our final quarter of the album, which I think is really interesting in a way, because I don't know if anybody else has thought of this, but I see this last quarter as kind of a trilogy of the stages of a breakup, is how I view
Yeah.
these last few songs. And that starts with our 10th track, which is Dreaming with a Broken Heart. This is a very piano based track, actually, which is an oddity on this album, but it works for this song. And he's admitting like it's over, but I wish it wasn't. Like, and so it's like I'm really hurt, but I that romantic in me is dreamy of what could be, what could have been. And hence you're dreaming with a broken heart, and that's something I know I can relate to. Definitely a contrast to slow dancing in a burning room, that's for sure. But I just think it's in some ways maybe a sequel. It's two sides of the same coin to that song in a way, I think. And I think it really works on that level, and I think it's beautiful compositionally. It was the fourth single, and it made it to 99 on the Hot 100, so it just got in there. I think it deserved better, much better than that. Like not even top 40. Come on, but yeah, I hope I hear this one. I think this would be like that great lighters in the sky or phones in the sky kind of song for a show, is my thought process. So, yeah.
It would be a super awesome contrast at a show because you get that piano there, but it really is such a beautiful song. I'm totally with you on it being almost like a sequel or a different side to the coin, alongside Slow Dancing in a Burning Room. I mean, even the last line of this, waking up is always the hardest to do when you're dreaming with a broken heart. It mimics that same sentiment that we had in Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, where you can see it going down. This, to me, is the end of that, where you're still dreaming with a broken heart and wishing and just dreaming that things were better inside of this breakup. I'm with you right there too. This is really this breakup, almost half of the album.
Yeah.
Um, this one in particular always had and still does really always hits me with this cinematic feeling. Maybe it's the contrast of the piano on this album. I really, this one I've always loved a little bit more because it almost, not almost, it gives me a Randy Newman type of feel as far as this piano ballad, so to speak, this really introspective piano piece where he's not necessarily talk singing, but it's along that line. I really enjoy this one.
Yes, so do I. But even though it's a sequel to One Song, it's also the first one of the many stages of breakup that we're getting in this almost half of the album, because we get that again in with the penultimate song, In Repair. This is the only other song with a co-writer, this one being the jazz guitarist Charlie Hunter. And another featured player on this song is James Valentine, who is the guitarist of Maroon 5. He knew John Mayer from their days at Berklee College, but interestingly, I think James Valentine would probably be more well known if he played for John Mayer full time than being a member of Maroon 5. Because
Heard that.
who could, it pretty much, it's very hard for people to think of anyone but Adam Levine. But this was well before The Voice, and I think even the second Maroon 5 album. So we're very early on, and people did think of Maroon 5 as a bit more of a actual band in 2006 than they do now or in future years. But enough about Maroon 5. Yeah, this is it's the recovery from the relationship, which I think is such a powerful metaphor, because when many are in that situation, it is kind of this addiction. You're addicted to the person, you're addicted to the thing, and to be in repair from it. It's like, I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. I'm working on moving on from that. And that's really an important thing to showcase, and I like that this song does that. And I also think this very possibly has the best guitar solo on the whole album. That solo really just kicks ass, for lack of a better term. This is the longest song here, but I don't think any of it's wasted. I think that it's appropriate for what we're singing about with this intense situation, and it blisters with its composition. So this is another winner for me. It's a really well constructed piece.
I'm right with you. Super well constructed. In a sense, in a live sense, which I tend to listen to him more these days, like this one here is a powerful, I'm so glad you said it, a powerful, super powerful solo, but a soft song to let you know that the show is almost over. And I usually see those songs go a little longer. The length here is definitely not wasted. I really enjoy that it keeps going and going and going inside of the thought of this repair. Even, and if you've listened to us before, you've heard me say it, I'm never really a big fan of a fade out outro. And this one makes sense because it's a repetitive line that just keeps going and going and going, like the repair would be, the self repair inside of this breakup mentality. And I love that. You very rarely hear me say that I love a fade out outro, but this one just sings correct and sets up walking into the final track. This is a really, really good penultimate track.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm right there with you on that. Heck, I think it could have worked well as a closing track, even, honestly. I
Heard.
think it would have really worked as an epic closer, but alas, it's not the closing track. Instead, we have I'm Gonna Find Another You, which the kind of the last part of this breakup trilogy, or half of the album, whatever you may want to call it. Because it's just, uh yeah, I'm gonna find another you. It's just more defiant. Like, I'm over you, and I'm gonna. There's you're not irreplaceable. because I can find another you, and so a bit more, yeah, just I've moved on, I got it, and this song I really love the soulful feel that really has that classic kind of Muscle Shoals horn sound, and I'm a sucker for that sound. I absolutely just love that style, and I think it's really well done here.
Yeah, I cannot be with you more. This is such a perfect closer for this album. I'm so glad in the sense that Repair wasn't a closer for this album, because this is really that look. This is the 10. This is the 10 on the dial into this evolution of Mayer. This starts out with a this newfound blues sensibility and rocks with a full composition. It's mature, it's beautiful, it lets us know where we're going. I'm gonna reach here, and outside of all of the breakup stuff, and I totally feel that I'm gonna find another you. I'm gonna reach and say I'm gonna find another you could even be him finding the new him coming out of this album. I know that might be a reach, but that's a way I feel coming out of this song. Super fitting ender for what comes after this album, the John Mayer, um, after Continuum. It's super exciting to hear this going back and hearing how he ends this album, being like, wow, man, because that's his sound now, is really what he does inside of 12, other than sob rock. But we're not going to get into sob rock today.
Well,
It's a good one. It's a good one.
so hot tea take from me. I do like a lot of things about this song. I
Oh,
don't think it's a good closer.
oh no. I heard
I
that.
just don't like the song itself. It has that great subtle soul feel to it. And emotionally, it's a good closer. But musically, I don't think it just quite gets what I want as a closer from this album. I want something a bit harder hitting along the lines of a song like In Repair. And it hurts me to say it because I love the arrangement of the song. I just don't think it's the best arrangement to close the album with. That's that's just my issue with it. Like as many things as I love about the song,
Heard that.
just don't think it's a great closer. Yeah.
Well, you're wrong.
Well,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
you know what? Some others probably think I am too, but I'm gonna stand my ground on this. That's my hot tea take. That's how I feel. But so interestingly though, this wasn't for a bit always the closer, actually. It is on Spotify as it should be, but in 2008 this album got a reissue and it got a bonus track tacked on, which was the song Say, which John Mayer actually wrote for the movie The Bucket List. And it's definitely a bonus track. It doesn't fit with the album at all. The
Nope.
closest song to it here is The Heart of Life. I think it's a better song than that one, but it was written for a movie. That's probably why it works better for that, but it doesn't fit here at all. And I can't consider it a part of this album, even though it was a big hit for him. It's actually his highest charting Billboard single, number 12 on the Hot 100, but it's not a Continuum song at all. So I know you just wanted that cash grab, put a hit at the end of the album, but no, that was really not, that's not it. I'm glad it's not included as part of it on streaming because it's not for this.
It wasn't until I looked back at the wiki that I saw that I never owned the album with that on the end of it. And yeah, that song was everywhere once it came out, but it definitely doesn't fit this soundscape at all.
No, not one bit. But there we have Continuum. I felt the need to mention it just because it wasn't just any bonus song, it was a huge hit. So I wanted to mention it. But really, album ends with I'm Gonna Find Another You. And there we have Continuum. John Mayer, our second look at him in a year. That's wild. Who would have thunk it? But here we are.
Johnny May.
Yeah, so you are the true Mayer fan out of us. I do want to know what you grade this album.
Continuum. Continuum. Looking back at Continuum is such a cool thing to do because, believe it or not, it was never heralded in my brain as one of my favorite albums from John Mayer. Yeah, I loved stuff on it. Yeah, there was awesome tracks through. I listened to it over and over and over again, but it didn't stick for me because Trio was right before, and I was head over heels for Trio. So back then, it slowed down Mayer a little bit. Looking back at it, I love to see how much of the new sound is here. And as an album, it really does, like we had been saying throughout, it really does go from an older Mayer to a newer Mayer sound wise. If I'm nitpicking as far as in a critical ear, the album in its whole has a tough time taking off sometimes. It sticks the landings throughout, but it just has a tough time getting outside of a softer groove. And that would be my really my only hardcore critique looking back at it is it just sat a little soft. I am going to give this one a B. I almost gave it a B plus. It's getting a B from me. There's awesome stuff here, but the sum of the parts isn't as strong as I think it should be looking back on
I am shocked. I actually am going to give it a B plus.
it.
I I didn't think I'd have a higher grade for John Mayer than you would, but here we are. No, I think
I'm
this is
I'm
a
hard on my
really
boys.
yeah, you expect the best from them, so you I get that. I totally get that. When we expect the best from them, we want to hold them to their highest standard. But I think this is a really strong singer-songwriter album. I'm not talking about like the blues guitar stuff. I'm looking at it from this perspective. I think it is fantastic in that there are some truly beautiful compositions here that are just hard to beat in my book, and definitely some of the one of the best singer songwriter albums of its era for sure. And I'm a sucker for that. So on that grounds, I'm going to give it a B plus. It's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good.
There you go. What's your
Yeah,
favorite track on this bad boy?
stop this train.
Oh, that's a good one. That was my second. I'm going Belief on this one. Always
Another
love that jam.
another good choice. It is a jam. No, there was no contest for me. I love that song so much. It might have elevated my whole score. Who knows? But it's a great
Yeah,
song. Stop this train.
yeah, man.
Stop
Stop this
what
train,
you're.
like I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop what you're doing and listen. That's
Yeah.
real.
That's what you need to, folks, please. Because you are missing out if you haven't listened to it. You might cry, but it'll be worth it, I promise.
That's what I was gonna say. I said, it's father and son, but it's one of those ones where I'll listen to it every once in a while and be like, all right, let me get a good cry out on this one. It's just such a cool piece because he's talking straight from the heart. It's almost like just having a conversation with him about how he's feeling turning 30. Shit's going too fast. He's getting nervous inside of the continuum. It's a good one. Good pick, Charlie. Good pick.
Oh, good. But now we have one more Ocean's Calling album to go for next week, and I'm gonna let you introduce this one because we both love it, but you love it even more. So what are we doing?
I'm going to take it back, and we'll do it again next week because this band holds such a awesome place in my heart. But this band was really the first time I ever talked to Charlie about music.
Yes.
I just in passing was like, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" And Charlie says, "I'm gonna go see Weezer and the Pixies." And I turned around unexpecting to hear that answer, and that has blossomed into us talking about music for years. So this one is well, maybe I'm giving too much away as far as what it is to me, but we're gonna break down one of my favorites of all time, and it's gonna be a tough one critically for me not to give this a super A++ bonus, but we're gonna break down Weezer Blue Album.
I don't think it's terrible to give it an A. I mean, Pitchfork gave it a 10.
um,
So,
yeah, I it's gonna be tough to find a negative point in this.
yeah,
This is a album that's lived in my rotation from day one till now, and like I still listen to it taking the kids to school.
it's
It's played a big part in my life.
yeah, it's definitely an iconic album, and it is going to be hard not to just put the blinders on, but we're going to be as fair as possible. But if we are too easy, the justification, Pitchfork gave it a 10. That's all I'm saying. And that's one
I
I
mean,
can't be mad at.
if you think we're too easy, holler at me because I would love to talk to everybody about this album. This is one that is near and dear to me. Not many that we've done have been on this level. This is up there like bad level for me.
Yeah, it's
So
kind of shocking it's taken us over a year to do it. We've been doing the show over a year, still haven't done it, but the time was going to come, and this is the time to do it. So,
heck
Weezer
yeah.
Blue Album, I'm very excited to discuss it, and it's going to be a fun one. So, stay tuned for that. In the meantime, please do follow us on social media at Turntables and Tea Podcasts on Facebook and Instagram, at Turntables Tea on X, formerly known as Twitter. Also, subscribe and rate us wherever you're listening to us. That would be much appreciated because that allows us to keep churning out new episodes for you, and because it's just what we love to do, and we're going to continue to love to do it because that's just how we roll. So, in the meantime, don't destroy your sweater, turn on your Buddy Holly, and stay tuned for next week.
Peace.